So I see, I'm gonna take the share screen really quick. I just have a couple slides I'm gonna show first, if you don't mind. So we'll switch back. I'm gonna go through a couple things. So thanks everybody. I see we have attendees calling in. So I'll get started with our intro as we let our attendees sort of filter in for the webinar today. So thanks everyone for joining for our monthly webinar series for Cenfluence. So today we're focusing on manufacturing resources in the region, but in the state. So we have a couple of great speakers that I'll introduce in just a minute, but it's all about leveraging regional resources for manufacturing companies. And so this is an exciting webinar for us too, because this is normally this series is just for Cenfluence cluster members. And so we've opened this one up. Such an important topic. We wanted to open it up to the wider corridor region, the wider, and I think we have a couple folks from outside the corridor even. So we're happy to have everybody on. But because of that, I just want to give a quick intro for Cenfluence. So Cenfluence is a clustering initiative. It's a partnership of the Florida High Tech Corridor and the Orange County government. And so if you haven't heard of it before, it's basically everyone knows that Central Florida is well known for a number of sectors and a number of clusters. It's not just modeling, simulation, and tourism, but Cenfluence is really an effort to drive the growth of some emerging clusters that are coming up that we saw and worked with the corridor and the Orange County Mayor's office on. And so you'll see the four clusters there on the screen, and it's all about providing resources and services and support to drive economic development and cross-cluster collaboration amongst these four. And so that's why we think that the topic of manufacturing resources is really fits well across a number of clusters and will be really relevant for a number of our members. We do a lot of things for our cluster members, and so just two slides for some upcoming things that we're doing and upcoming services and events. So we do have a monthly webinar series. So this one and our next webinar on September are both open beyond Cenfluence cluster members. So if you've registered for this one, you have the opportunity to register for that one too. So that's on best practices for industry and university collaborations. All of our Cenfluence cluster members can access all of the recordings from all of our webinars from the past on the links that you have. And we also run a number of cluster focused working groups. You see some of the topics there for some of the working groups that we have ongoing, and some of those are wrapping up in the next few weeks. And just wanted to highlight a couple events before I hand it over to our speakers today for some upcoming events for our cluster members. So just a handful of things to highlight. So first, for our energy cluster in particular, we have the Decarbonization and Hydrogen Forum. This is in person at UCF, but it's also a virtual event, and it's Mitsubishi Power Systems as a co-sponsor for that and kind of organizing. Dr. Cartwright, the UCF president, will be speaking there, and so that's just all around resources, policy, and innovations around decarbonization. So that's coming up fairly shortly. We have the Armed Forces Game Jam that's Cenfluence and the corridor both sponsor and support. So this is the intersection of gaming technologies, solving problems for the armed forces over, building prototypes over the course of the weekend. So if you want to participate, attend, sponsor, be involved in that in some way, just let me know, and we're happy to get you connected there. On September 22nd, this is a little bit of a lead in to the Synapse event. With Orlando Tech Council, we'll be there as well. It's a happy hour event in downtown Orlando. And so you'll see a link in the chat. I think Amy just posted that. So if you want to participate, there's also a link on the main event site to, if you have a company that you want to exhibit, so you want to have a booth at that event, I think there's spots for 8. So you're welcome to submit for that. Florida Venture Forum, Early Stage Capital Conference. The middle of October is really busy, as you'll see. So the Florida Venture Forum, Early Stage Capital Conference, October 11th and 12th in Tampa. We've had a number of our companies go there before and get a lot of great resources and kind of insights into what investors look for and make some great connections. And I think you'll hear more about this and from our speakers today, but the Make More Manufacturing Summit will be at the Guidewell Innovation Center between October 12th and the 13th. So they can share a lot more about that, but that's all centered around the manufacturing ecosystem and resources in the state. And then finally, Synapse Orlando, October 21st. So we'll be out there as Cenfluence Enforced, and so that's downtown Orlando. If you are a Cenfluence cluster member and you want to attend, interested in exhibiting or speaking, let us know. You should have actually got an email this morning to try to get tickets to Synapse. So then we have a lot of other events that we always keep posted on our event site for Cenfluence. So we have our fancy QR code here, but cenfluence.com has more information on all of that. on events, resources, services, and everything else that we're working on. So with all that said, now I will stop sharing, but I want to hand it over to our speakers from Florida Makes and the Manufacturers Association of Central Florida. So Zoraida will go first. So Patricia, now you can share your screen. Sorry, I took it over before. So we'll let you kick it off and tell us all about the resources, initiatives, everything our company should know about.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jack. And that picture of me was 6 years ago while I was pregnant. Life has happened since. Look a little bit different now. I'll wait for Patricia. I see a black screen. Do you all see her screen?
I still see a black screen as well. So we'll let her.
There you are. Perfect. Well, thanks for having us. As Jack noted, I'm Zoraida Velasco. I serve as Executive Vice President for Florida Makes. You'll go to the next slide, Patricia. There we are. Florida Makes is the manufacturing extension partnership for the state of Florida. We are one of 51 centers across the country. There's one in every state and in Puerto Rico. It's a program funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce through the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the NIST labs. They manage how much a pound is a pound, and they're looking at technologies that some of us might not even see in our lifetime. They also happen to manage the Manufacturing Extension Partnership and the network that we as Florida Makes are part of at a national level. Our mission and the mission of the MEP program is to improve productivity and technological performance of manufacturing. As the organization that runs the MEP program for Florida, we do that for Florida entirely. Now we deliver those services to help manufacturers grow and retain their business here and retain those jobs here through what we call the Florida Makes Network. And you can go to the next slide, Patricia. Our network is a network of partners regionally and statewide that we use what we call business advisors, and we embed business advisors. They are expert manufacturing executives, so they've worked in manufacturing their entire lives, and they are embedded into one of these regional associations. The one for Central Florida is MACF, and you'll hear a little bit more about what MACF is doing and their business advisors. But what those business advisors will do is they will connect with manufacturers, and they will come up with solutions. They will, do assessments of your business, everything from your practices on the plant floor to how your leadership is structured. And they will figure out ways where you may be missing out on opportunities, where there might be local partners that you could be taking advantage of. If there's a grant that you can apply through CareerSource, they will hold your hand and do that with you. We also have a third-party provider network that we have vetted third-party providers for. So we never try to push a service that we have to a manufacturer, but rather figure out what it is that the manufacturer really needs and then take them to that solution, whether that's a paid solution or whether that's a free resource that is already available by the local government or the state, et cetera. And then we hold them, we hold their hand, if you will. That business advisor becomes part of your manufacturing team in resolving the issue or in building a solution or in implementing a technology, et cetera. And you see here on the screen an example of a company that we helped that is an MACF member. And once we're done helping the company, NIST, our federal funder, will send an independent survey to the company asking them, as a result of your engagement with Florida Makes, what happened? Was there capital investment? Was there jobs retained, et cetera? And so this is, you see at the bottom there, the project results. There was $125,000 in new investment. They entered a new market because they got this ISO thing, and they were, they were compliant, and they got a $15,000 grant. I'm assuming that was probably from CareerSource. All of this was thanks to the support that they received from the business advisor. So I would encourage you, if you need support for your business, whether that's in training or that's technology, to contact after this call MACF and your local business advisor. If you're outside of the Central Florida region, all of these associations have a business advisor tied to them, and we can put a link in the chat momentarily of where you can look at a map and figure out, who your association is and what business advisor you should be contacting. And that initial contact and the initial assessment is always free for a company. So even if you're not a member of the Manufacturers Association. Next slide, Patricia. And so these are the core services and the strategic objectives that we try to embed in everything that we do. But we primarily will deliver support around technology adoption, business growth, and talent development strategies. Next slide. And then I'm going to go quickly through some of these, just so one of the things that we have done at Florida Makes is taken on the leadership role of becoming the glue that holds all things manufacturing together. Even though NIST really, their mandate to us is go help the individual manufacturer. We realize that if the ecosystem that the manufacturer lives in isn't strong, you're not going to grow, no matter how much help we give you. And so we have developed different things with the input of manufacturers. In the case of talent development and education, for example, we have an advanced manufacturing workforce leadership council comprised of manufacturing executives. The majority of that group is in HR and talent development roles. And they have recommended the development of some of the things that you see on the screen. We have an Adopt a School program to encourage you to adopt a school in your local community and start exploring how to get involved with your school district and getting students exposed to manufacturing. We developed an IMT apprenticeship program, and we're actually in the process of registering 2 more credentials to that apprenticeship program. This one in particular, the IMT, is really interesting because the educational component to the program is online. And so it targets your underrepresented populations of a single parent who can't go to school after work because they got to get their kids, or, or somebody who maybe doesn't have a vehicle and they can't drive to a physical location to take the educational component. And so the IMT has proven to really help some underrepresented communities progress in their careers in manufacturing. And then we've got the Employer of Choice and Apprentice of the Year awards that recognize that an apprentice and the Employer of Choice recognizes companies that have excellent practices in human resources, talent development, recruitment, corporate culture, etc. And then the one in the very middle is FLATE, which is the Florida Advanced Technological Education Center. They're one of our statewide partners that you saw in the network, and they are the ones who lead all of our Manufacturing Month initiatives, which we have actually year long, and they are our connection of industry with education. So if you're having a hard time reaching somebody at your local college or at your local university, let us know, and our program through FLATE guaranteed know somebody at that school that can get you in touch with whoever it is that you're trying to reach. Next slide. I think you advanced too quickly. There we go. And business growth and tech acceleration. If you have not been a part of the Sterling Manufacturing Business Excellence Award program, it's a really good way to learn best practices from other manufacturers. To have going through that process, every single company that goes through it, even if they don't win or they don't become a finalist, always walks away with a new solution, a best practice, some sort of improvement because they went through the process. So I would encourage you to self-nominate for that award process. The Manufacturing 2022 is the campaign that I talked about that FLATE is leading to change the perception of manufacturing and build more that pipeline of people interested in manufacturing careers. Connix Florida is a really, really great tool that, when we talked to Jack about our services, this was something that was really interesting. And I think we may be working on maybe doing an actual demo for those of you who are interested in it. It is a supply chain database for you to upload all of your capabilities and all of your needs. It's only for manufacturers, so you don't get spammed with services, and it's free. We got funding from the Department of Commerce when Irma and Maria came through, and they said you need to help companies recover from the hurricanes. And we said, that's great, but how about we build something that's going to make them more resilient? And so this platform not only allows you to go in and enter your capabilities, but it lets you on a confidential layer map your supply chain and figure out where you have weak points, and then helps you find alternative suppliers in case of a hurricane, a pandemic, which none of us knew was gonna, was coming. So that's a really great tool that I would encourage you to explore. And we've been able to keep it free for manufacturers thanks to funding from first for the hurricanes and then because of CARES Act dollars. So the more, database is only as good as the data in it. So the more manufacturers we can get into the database, the better it'll be for everyone. And that database connects to the national database as well. I think there's a fee for that one. I don't know if they're still running a promotion, but the Florida one is free for all Florida manufacturers. And then GrowFL is a program that some of you may be familiar if you were involved with the Florida High Tech Corridor in the past, because it was a program that used to be out of the University of Central Florida for second stage companies, and it's now under the Florida Makes umbrella. We are really big at trying to not duplicate programs and not reinvent the wheel at any time. And when we saw that GrowFL provided this great service for second stage companies to continue to grow, we decided it just makes more sense for us to fund them to help those manufacturers. So if you are a manufacturer in our second stage, that's a really great program to get involved in. And they will be having a Manufacturing Leadership Institute for manufacturing CEOs on October 12th, the morning of the Make More Summit. So we can send you that flyer, Jack, to share with this group if you'd like. It's for C-suite employees of second stage manufacturing companies. Next slide. What did I say? And then this is the whole ecosystem idea, right? Is the Make More Summit that Jack talked about earlier. It's a gathering of all these stakeholders in manufacturing who are trying to build solutions for you. So it's the Jacks and Donnies and Zoraidas and Patricias of the world who are trying to figure out what is it that manufacturing needs, and where has somebody already invented something that is working for their region that we can bring statewide. So it's a brainstorming session, if you will, of all things manufacturing. This year in particular, that summit is going to focus on talent development, on building the talent pipeline, and on bridging the skills gap. So if you're in Central Florida and you're available, it's a really great place to network, to learn more about the resources available to manufacturers, not only in Central Florida, but statewide, because it's a statewide event. If you are a manufacturer or you know of a manufacturer who's been a leader in your community, who has made a difference in the industry above and beyond their day-to-day paid job, this is an award that you would want to nominate them for. It's the Bob Provatola Manufacturing Leadership Award, and it recognizes a professional who's gone above and beyond in their volunteer and in the impact that they've had in the industry to move manufacturing forward. And then the other two groups you see on the screen, one is the Advocacy Council. If any of you are interested in getting more involved with the legislature, in getting more involved in advocating for the issues that are impacting manufacturing at the policy and legislative level, this is there's no cost to join. We take a group of manufacturers every year up to Tallahassee to meet with legislators, to talk to them about the issues that are impacting you. That same group was the one who helped stand up what you see on the top, which is the Manufacturing and Supply Chain Caucus. And that is the first of its kind in the Florida State Legislature. It's a group of legislators who have committed to supporting and moving manufacturing forward in everything they do within the state's legislature. I think that may have been the last slide, but oh, and then these are our impacts, and I kind of walked through the impacts of that one company and that success story. These are the impacts of our work statewide based on 573 clients surveyed since 2016. And so the economic impact of the work that we do, I think is, I've never met another economic development organization that can demonstrate this kind of impact in such a short period of time and with such a small amount of companies. So this is just how we get measured and how we go back to the state or, the federal government and say, please continue to fund us because the work that we do is really making an impact. Next slide. Here's a map. I think they shared in the chat where this is on our website, but here you have it as well, where all the regional associations are and who you should contact. And you see there in Central Florida, we've got Dan and Russ on Donnie's team for the Manufacturers Association of Central Florida. And here we go. And so now I'd like to introduce Donnie. Donnie runs the MEP operation in Central Florida. We deliver our services through the Manufacturers Association of Central Florida. They've actually been alive and kicking way longer than Florida Makes has. So they have a long history of being involved with the manufacturing community in Central Florida. And Donnie has been at the helm of the organization now a year and a couple months, Donnie.
Just over a year. So in July, it was my year anniversary.
All right, so just about a year. And aside from all of those services that you saw that we do at a statewide level, he delivers those locally, but there's lots of other activity that Donnie leads in this region. And so we asked him to join us here today so he can talk more about those.
Yes, so I kind of figured I would touch base on a few of these things and then kind of share a little bit of what we do. So in each one of these opportunities, there's a few things that we're pushing forward and jumping in. So this is kind of a slide that runs over what does MACF do for manufacturing, sharing best practices. That kind of dives down into the idea of doing our shop tours and getting out and connecting manufacturers with each other so they can begin to share some of these best practices and getting the habit of helping each other grow and strengthen. So expanding the supply chain as far as, pushing down the lanes of finding opportunities, getting them with our manufacturers, getting them with the Cenfluence teams and some of these high-tech companies that are pushing down these lanes and just pairing them up so they can both grow and kind of move down those lanes. Advocacy is one of those things that's pretty cool. I enjoy it. So there's been quite a bit that I'm learning in that process, as well as just putting to work. So there's the idea of staying in front of the senators, staying in front of our local representatives, and actually bringing together roundtables. We recently did a roundtable with Senator Scott and Rubio, and I'm working to put one together with DeSantis. Just making sure that we continue to push and then communicate some of these bills, some of these things that these senators are pushing forward and getting approved and getting pushed out there so we can actually utilize it as manufacturers. There's some really cool programs such as the 504 SBA program that Rubio is pushing to actually have a forgiveness piece on automation. It really, really solid program. Hopefully that gets passed and we can kind of put that to work. But ultimately, it's really about getting them engaged with the manufacturers. I'm doing a tour with the regional managers for each of those gentlemen, for Rubio, Scott, and DeSantis, where we're going to be going around and meeting with manufacturers, discussing where they are and how we can help, and making sure that they understand where there's a roadblock, we can get involved and we can help. And we have multiple partners, as you can see, with Cenfluence, and we're going to continue to engage and get closer with Cenfluence and with the different organizations to make sure that we're all working together and collaborating, not really stepping on each other's toes, but helping each other grow. Educational workforce training. So that's just really the idea of connecting the manufacturers with all these different partners we have. So Lake Tech, Valencia, UCF, Seminole State College, Orange County Public Schools, Mid-Florida Tech, all those folks participate and are part of our association and continue to stay involved to make sure that we're putting together those programs that are going to support and grow manufacturing. So the ecosystem, I kind of look at us as being an ecosystem driver, just making sure that we're continuing to put all the parts and pieces together to grow this manufacturing industry all the way around. The folks that are here, the folks that are coming, as you know, we continue to introduce new manufacturers here in Florida pretty much on a daily and weekly basis. They're coming constantly to come here and do their work. So as we kind of look at some of these different, our Henry Graver MACF Memorial Scholarship Fund, that's a fund we put together that basically just is a scholarship program for kids. We're doing things like, I don't know where we are on the slides. Can you go ahead and advance the slide, Patricia? So we're talking about client impacts here, $302 million in total sales, $56 million. This is just a little bit of the impacts that you see from Florida Makes that have trickled down as far as from the Central Florida region. This is our impacts. You can go ahead and kick to the next one, Patricia. So here we're going to talk a little bit about the Made in Central Florida Expo. And this works down the lanes of something that we're doing all around workforce. So this is on October 25th, and it's going to be our first event, but it's going to be an annual event that we continue to maintain. And this is geared towards the students anywhere from elementary all the way up through. We put a hard emphasis and focus on CTE students to make sure they can get out and see all these manufacturers that are going to be out here and in front of presenting what we make right here in their backyard. So everybody, we got JBT, Mitsubishi, Nautique Boats, bringing boats out, bringing different simulators and all kinds of different toys. And then we're going to also present some of our programs, some of the different training programs that we've stood up over the years, and we continue to push young talent out to get them started in a career and move forward. Manufacturing is one of those special places that we accept them all. So with very little education and all the way up through your bachelor's, master's, PhDs, the whole bit. So there's a place for manufacturers a place for talent in all of those levels. You can go ahead and advance the slide there if you want, and then I'm going to kind of swing back on some of these topics. This is our Make More event that we're doing in conjunction with Florida Makes. So this is something that we've been pushing quite a bit. This is for the entire ecosystem behind the scenes that is pushing together with us to form the ecosystem that drives and supports the manufacturing system. So this is focused on workforce talent development and what we need to do to push that needle forward. We want manufacturers to get involved, but the bigger piece is that support system and making sure that we're all collaborating and working together to move this needle. You can go ahead and advance it. All right, this is the thank you part. We're not going to jump there yet. I still got a few more things I wanted to talk about. So I want to dive a little deeper into the Advanced Manufacturing Workforce Leadership Council. That's something that Florida Makes has been working on quite a bit, and we've got some extremely talented individuals that are doing a lot of good work there. And that is surrounding, as you right ahead mentioned, HR folks. It's also operations guys. So they're bringing in some really quality speakers, folks that are working with a lot of different companies and sharing best practices and things that are taking place within these organizations of different styles of leadership and disruptive behaviors to improve that production atmosphere. Another thing I wanted to talk to was Dan and Russ. These guys are pretty special all the way around. These are the business advisors that we have. Dan has over 16 years experience running a facility for Goodyear, and he actually did all the process improvement and went down that entire lane of training. Now we have that type of talent on our team. He's actually going to be heading up a supervisor development program where we're going to work to elevate your supervisors. And that's going to be on November 1st and 8th for those that are interested. There's nothing out there, Amy, so you can't put that one on there. But there is some material coming soon for that particular event. And then we have a whole slew of events that we're planning in October to get out and see manufacturers for our members. There's several different areas that we kind of really get there and go. That the event we're doing on the 25th, the Made in Central Florida Expo, that's 100% done because we know our talent is the one thing that we're going to need the most in the next few years coming. So we really just pivot and we push on this ecosystem wherever we need to push on it. So we do have some testimonials we didn't get to share in here where we've worked with some companies, depending on the size of the company. Sometimes there's grant funding. That's all on an approval basis and such, but companies under 25 can get up to 75% reimbursement. Companies that are larger than that, typically it's a 50% reimbursement on the training and different things that we've done. We've had companies that have went through those training processes, came out the other side and actually developed products from it. So we've had Six Sigma trainings where we come out and companies have developed products and ended up selling a whole segment of business for millions of dollars through a training that Florida Makes had put on. You know, there's other trainings where we go in and we help get certifications and advance in different areas, from ISO 9000, which is a standard. I don't know how, not everybody's going to understand and know these different standards out there, but that's a base standard. And so from that standard, you can move around into different industries pretty quickly and easily, but it's a good base. But we've had companies that have started there and then went into different European standards and just done slight variations to get those certifications and then expand their business into some really special markets. Another thing we do is introduce you to various folks from the US Embassy, well, US Commerce to SBDC, kind of make those connections where you're trying to get out and expand into new markets. So there's a lot of different programs that we support and we get behind that will come in and help you develop those marketing plans and push that company forward. So a lot of times right now, everybody's doing is pretty healthy on the sales front and they're strong, but this is the time not to sit back and say we're in a good spot. It's a time to evaluate other markets, see where you can expand your businesses, see where your core competencies are, and where you can pivot slightly and potentially add in new revenue streams, grow your businesses. A lot of people are struggling to grow where they currently are, and when you have those needs, if you can reach out to us, we'll not only make connections, but we'll help develop programs where necessary to cluster different folks. So we'll work with the educational institutes, whether it's Valencia, Mid-Florida Tech, SSC, or Lake Tech, wherever you're located, Daytona State, Embry-Riddle, depending on where you're going, we can actually pull together a cluster of manufacturers and then put together some different manufacturing best practices to help develop and train your entry-level employees, or even do secondary training when you're trying to advance your employees from where they currently are. We kind of stay involved in most of those conversations. We're putting together different things, from we're transitioning folks that were doing automotive painting to now doing the gel coating on the boats and learning those competencies and kind of expanding that knowledge base. From welders to machine operators to robotics is a big one that we're pushing down that lane. So we're launching several programs probably next year that will train maintenance, robotics, and then eventually integration, where you'll be integrating different machine tools. That's kind of a big nutshell, I guess, what we're doing. I don't know how well I presented MACF to say that we do a lot. We stay involved all the way around. We've got a massive big brother, big sister, whatever you want to call it, in Florida Makes, maybe a little bit of both. We make a really good team. We're getting out there and getting to know manufacturers. The biggest thing that I could put an ask out there for is contact us. Let us know how we can help. Let us know where your needs are. Let us know where your pain points are. Let us know the issues that you're facing so we can begin to work as a team to put together a plan to make a difference, to change that path forward. I was born in machining. I basically started running machines when I was 12 years old and have held just about every kind of position you can imagine within a manufacturing facility, from setting them up, tearing them down, to programming them, to buying and selling the products, to procuring work, and business development, of course, is my favorite out of that bunch. But I've been all over a manufacturing facility, so there's not much I haven't seen. Most times my viewpoint will be based on growth. I love to grow companies. I think Florida Makes supports that passion of mine. And I love to get involved. So if there's something from a company standpoint, a problem that you're facing, we have an amazing team here that goes pretty deep. Our bench is pretty deep right now, and it's getting deeper. We're continuing to grow. just get us engaged. That's the biggest thing I can say. Is anywhere we can come and be involved, we want to be involved. I think that kind of wraps it up. I did put my cell phone number and my email in the chat, I believe. I think Jack said he was going to share it. So feel free to reach out to me, text me, call me, whatever you're most comfortable with. I tend to do a lot of texting because folks like to do that stuff at all different times, but I'm pretty open. So, and that goes for everybody on this call, including the panelists. Jack, I'd love to get more involved with Cenfluence, and I've actually been asked to get more involved in Cenfluence. So I definitely want to be engaged in how we're moving forward and make sure that we are supporting the mission of advancing manufacturing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to work with you more. As we round the corner of 100 cluster members, I think we'll have more and more need to get connected with you for resources there. So I'll ask anyone in the audience, put questions in the chat. We have a few extra minutes here. So if you have any questions, anything came up, you have questions about a particular program, anything, put them in the chat in the Q&A. So I do have a question. This is probably for both of you, maybe more to Donnie, but either Zoraida or Donnie, if you want to answer it. This is from Ryan. Question is just, sorry, go ahead.
I apologize, Jack. I did read through it. I was ready with an answer, but if you want to read it out, that's fine. But it's talking about a company moving here from Central Florida, their research and development. I actually deal with quite a few folks that are down this lane, everywhere from innovation centers on. We have a whole cluster of partners that kind of get involved with this process. Depending on what it is you're looking for within that resource structure. We have the economic development folks, we have our Orlando Economic Partnership. So if you get with me and let me know somewhat of where you're looking around this area, I can help justify the resources that we have to support you, and then I'll help get you connected with the folks that you need when it comes to getting you engaged and whether it's from a facility, from building a building to permitting, whatever that is, we've got a good round house of support. Would you say that's an accurate or a good answer there, Zoraida, to that question?
Yes, that is. Most of our work in the MEP section of what we do is to retain the company. So if this is something that's going to help you start manufacturing here, it's definitely something we want to get involved with. And Donnie knows all of those experts that'll help you, go from that research and development stage to production.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I just think that would, because some of our companies, right, they manufacture different, maybe not hazardous materials, but I know there's different regulations with different types of materials if you're manufacturing. I imagine you could help them sort of figure out how to navigate some of that depending on if you have certain regulations around specific materials where you have to be located, or the systems to process all that and everything.
Absolutely. I don't know that Donnie and I would know that off the top of our heads, but Dan and Russ probably do, or know somebody who would be an expert in figuring out, materials and all of that.
Well, I think Jack was saying that they're good with the regulation side of things. Is that what you were saying there, Jack?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I've had a company or two before that are looking to manufacture something specific, but they're not sure if there are regulations that kind of are specific to what they're doing. So whether it's maybe they're manufacturing a chemical, let's say, and they want to make sure they have the facility to dispose of it properly, or things like that. Yeah. Or make sure they're set up for those kinds of things, and they're meeting all the regulations, so they don't set up a facility and then they're they're not in code, let's say, for something specific. So,
we can help with all that.
I have a company that's looking to set up a facility here that basically it's an explosive material if it mixes with air or water. So it's one of those crazy things to kind of dive down. But those challenges are a lot of fun to dive into. We do have, like I said, a very deep bench. So yes, we can help with that area. If we don't know, we will find somebody that does know.
Okay, excellent. So I see Ryan said he'd reach out to you. So if any more questions, type them in. So I did have a question, maybe a follow-up for you, Donnie. You're mentioning there was a grant program that would pay for small companies up to 75% reimbursement for training and things like that. I was wondering if you could share a bit more about how you apply for that, what are the types of training typically used? Just a little more, I think there'd be a lot of interest in that.
Well, so typically that will start with an assessment or an evaluation from one of the business advisors. And typically I'll come in and do a rundown and we'll go through some different things to start some of those conversations. But normally that's a business advisor that gets involved, and we're moving down the lane of doing a specific type of training. And it can be focused around many areas. So in some cases, it can actually include software, it can include different types of hardware. It really just depends on the situation. And it's all tied to an outcome. So if it produces jobs and it produces higher sales, which could lead to upskilling and moving talent around, that's the whole idea behind it. So there's several different programs that fit that we kind of work to put in around ERP systems, MRB systems, around leadership training. Leadership's a big one. The supervisor training, depending on the size of your business, like we're going to pull together a cluster of 40 students in this class coming up in November. And that particular one will, again, if your company is, in most cases, I mean, I think that one's $550 or something like that for members. It's really not that expensive. But if you go down that lane and you're a smaller company, there is a process where we could do a grant for even something as small as that. Granted, my BAs might give me a hard time, but regardless, it is something that they dive in, and it really, it's kind of one of those things that's based on the situation, just like you're talking about regulations. Everything's situational, so it really truly depends on the company and then what that outcome is going to be and how we're going to get there. But there's a plethora of programs out there available through all kinds of different organizations that we've pulled together to help manufacturers in this growth process, whether it's finding a way for different styles of funding, or if it's down the lane of finding that right resource that fits what you need to take that next step. And one of the big things about Cenfluence that I'm learning, and I still got a lot to learn about Cenfluence, is from a tech standpoint, you're doing a good job with connecting those schools. So out of some of these programs, like for instance, photonics, there's been numerous companies that have been birthed. And those companies now are taking that tech and moving on to that next level through either SBIRs or different types of grant programs on that side of the fence. But now they're stepping into the idea of buying equipment. And so they're working with Space Florida on some leaseback programs. They're working with different companies out there to kind of help them grow. So we kind of got a lot of knowledge in a lot of areas, and there's a lot of grant programs. To say that I know them all would be crazy. But I do have a good handle, or my team has a good handle on ones that surround the idea of training.
Excellent.
I might have over answered that question. I think I did.
No, I don't think that's possible. There's so many programs that it's hard for me to keep track of them. So more information is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or you want me to go another direction? Did I answer that all, Zarida? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, that was good. You're the local expert, so.
Yeah, I get. Well, I mean, if you look at our impacts, I think our impacts, our total Central Florida impacts, which are a little outdated, is in these last 7 years working with the MEP, is $445 million. And that's 6 zeros after that 445. Those are the impacts that companies have reported out from doing business with us and helping them to either through a training, through and in some of these things, like for instance, those assessments we do, whether it's for the Sterling event or if it's just the Malcolm Baldridge assessment that we do, it leads to opportunities where potentially you don't even know that you're missing a whole department. I mean, a part of that impact, not this particular impact, down in South Florida, they had over a $40 million impact working with one of the divisions of Lockheed, adding in an entire division that they were missing. That's a big impact on a very large company that is professionally put together with a lot of really good leadership. But when you get into those day-to-day routines and you're busting your butt to get everything done and out the door, and you're creating and sometimes you miss some of those nuances that can really be a game changer for your business. It's nice to have a second set of eyes and a third set of eyes, fourth set of eyes. So as you engage somebody like MACF or one of our counterparts, one of our other regional manufacturing associations, You get somebody like me, an executive director, or somebody coming in the door to do an initial evaluation. You also get these guys that are going into a deeper dive and looking into this, whether you have an identity crisis or you have a sales issue or you have a production issue or a process issue. There's talent all the way around those individuals, and they're not mediocre individuals. They're all very, very special. I would look at every one of our business advisors and say they've got some very, very special qualities at the way they do business and the things that they can bring to the table for these manufacturers.
Excellent.
I think
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, so I guess I have one more question, and we'll give folks the last round to type stuff in unless anybody else has some. But I guess my last question is kind of to both of you. I know you both work with a lot of manufacturers. It relates to the question earlier, but it's, just, do you have any general advice or any thoughts? I guess I'll frame it this way. What's the biggest mistake you see over and over and over again from new companies developing new manufacturing lines or kind of early stage companies looking to manufacture? What's a mistake you see a lot of them make that either it's avoidable or just something to keep in mind? Just some advice, experience.
I would look at this from a very large perspective, and 9 times out of 10, when a mistake is it happens, it's normally due to some sort of planning issue. But getting people involved, there's folks out there to help with some of these conversations, and when you involve, whether it's from a technical aspect or just from an oversight, to come in and kind of bounce some of these ideas off, push things around, and challenge some of these status quo situations. But be open to that negative Nancy in the room that's going to tell you everything that's wrong and everything that could potentially go wrong, and work around those things. I would say that one of the biggest issues in that planning phase is sometimes you run before you're ready to run. There's a process to kind of get set up and get going, but bring somebody in, bring in somebody to have that conversation, somebody to do a little bit of evaluating. It's not if you're a member of MACF, it's no cost. We come in, we do an evaluation, there's no cost to it. It's just getting another set of eyes to run through these processes with you. And then don't be afraid to ask those questions across your leadership teams. So you have brilliant people that are running some of these companies. Get them engaged. Ask the same question. What's your pain point? That's one of the biggest questions I would ask every single person in the leadership team. What do you look at as this company's pain point? And if you have 7 folks across the company that you would consider to be your leadership team, you're probably going to end up with about 4 to 5 different answers. Normally, and you'll get to see that. It depends from each department. You'll see that there's different pain points. There's different things. The biggest one you throw all your resources at, and then you tend to, these other ones that you don't work on, they're your next pain point. So you'll have people that sales are doing great. We're not going to work on that sales cycle. And that sales cycle takes anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half. And so they stop working on that sales cycle. And then all of a sudden they get their production issue figured out and situated. And now they have a sales problem. Yeah. They now have all these people, and they've just let this other department completely dwindle because they're doing so well at that point in time, and they're focusing all their energy. So they're like, stop selling and come over here and help in this situation here. And that's where I would say some of those mistakes come in, is you can get so wrapped up in your pain point that you forget all these other areas of your business that still have a cycle to them to actually get product done. So I have an example that I think is awesome. During the pandemic, one of our manufacturers, JBT, actually, and they build aircraft equipment. So during the pandemic, people were laying people off left and right all over the industry. And so they were sucking up and getting every engineer they could hire that they felt like was a good pickup. And so these engineers were scared they were going to lose their jobs. In most cases, they weren't going to lose their jobs. They were plenty busy and doing well, but they were still nervous about it. So JBT was sucking up those engineers. They literally, during that time, developed the technology to go from gas-powered vehicles to electric-powered vehicles that are moving around our cargo and our plane at these our planes at these airports. Insane opportunity took place for them. They invested in their engineering. Now they're launching new products and they're going to more than double in size. That's just being, if you're proactive and you look at these opportunities, every situation is an opportunity, I would say. Bad or good, it's an opportunity. Find the opportunity within that problem, within that great or bad thing, and look how you can grow your business. Look how you can take that next step. That's basically the advice I would give in that situation. Again, I over answered.
No, it's excellent. I love it. I love it. I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, I don't know. So I think we're sort of at the end, right? I don't know if you have anything to add or closing thoughts from Florida Makes, besides attend the Make More Summit and connect with Donnie, connect with Zoraida.
Yeah. Hey,
Hopefully
you
that's
know,
not-
I'm here for a resource for all of you guys. If I can be of help, that's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. And so we'll share the slides, we'll share your contact information with all of our cluster members who couldn't make it today and everyone at RSCP. So they'll all have that from you.
Yeah.
And we'll connect more and work with you. Look forward to
Yeah,
it.
and let me know how I can help grow your cluster as well. You know, I want to get involved and help you push that forward. I know you guys are doing great things over there. I hear nothing but good things. Eric has been telling me, you know, you got to get over there, got to get involved. This is a really great thing. So we're here. We want to be involved.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely look forward to connecting with you, and all of our, you'll see some of our companies coming through and connecting. So I think with that, we're going to wrap it up. I don't see any more questions. So I appreciate your time, Zoraida, Donnie, I guess both Donnies that are on the call right now. But yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good afternoon. We'll share the slides, we'll share the recording, and just reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy.
Absolutely, you too. Thank you, Zoraida. And
Thank
Patricia.
you.
Mhm.